how we do what we do is as important, if not more so, than what we actually do. I'll use the example. Has anybody studied communications besides Nikki? I know it's communications. Only because I've had the college team in a training before, so they're hearing this for the second time. And now I'm going to put you guys on the spot because some of the things, if you don't remember, will be really hurt. So, no pressure. But communications, let's say, well, just roughly, and what do you name, sir?
David Spawner.
So David, you study communications.
Sure.
About how much of communication is what you say versus how you say it, percentage-wise, do you know?
Well, it's like form versus content. You know, it's
It's
everything.
like
You have to have both to make an impression, obviously, but the loudness that you guys project, the media you buy, the number of spots that you're running in any network will really depend on your success. And individually, I think we all have to open up every avenue we can and every medium possible to reach out to everybody we can in a short period of time. I mean, we're kind of in crunch time right now. I don't mean to imply that this is like, but we're crunch time for the 2012 election. Yeah.
No pressure. So that is 100% right. And also kind of in the idea of communication and how we speak to each other, just one-on-one, right? This is not about Americans Elect. This is just sheerly like how it works when you talk to somebody. About 90% of what is communicated to someone is the way you say what you say, not actually the words you use. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Like,
So-
if I yell at you, I love you so much!
Right, that means something very different than saying, I love you so much. Right?
Yeah.
I could even say, that's a nice shirt you're wearing. Right? But if I said, that's a nice shirt you're wearing, what does that imply?
Asshole.
It can mean, who knows what it means, right? But it surely doesn't mean like I actually like his shirt. Or it means I didn't like another shirt, right? Or if I said, that's a nice shirt you're wearing, now it means
wearing a shirt?
his shirt might be nice, but his pants aren't, right? Who knows? Or that's a nice shirt you're wearing. It means like your wardrobe sucks, right? Like, the one you're wearing is okay maybe, but I don't know, right? So just emphasizing a different word in the exact same sentence completely changes the meaning. So if we don't have the right, no matter what we do, if we don't have the right value set underlying it, it actually won't matter very much. And so we're actually going to spend a good bit of this morning figuring some of those things out together, because this is not going to be what Americans Elect National, this is not what Elliot thinks, this is not what Khalil thinks, this is not what anybody you've seen in a TV article or TV appearance or an article or an op-ed thinks. This is what we think, and we are Americans Elect. This is it.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? This, you, we, us, are Americans Elect. There's no more of they. Right? Us. So, how do we want to be? What are some of the values we're going to bring to the table here? Honesty. Yeah, absolutely.
Independent, individualistic.
Sincerity.
Foster is sincerity. Yeah.
Sincerity. Ooh. Nikki knows that I'm going to jump on this one. And I'm going to take a quick aside, and then Corey will come to you. So I love sincerity.
I think integrity.
And integrity. Actually, those are probably my two favorites, just personally.
Could I get individuality in there too?
Absolutely. I think that was
Yeah.
I want to jump on sincerity really quick, because I love this word, and I don't want to interject too much. But does anybody study Latin or Greek? Anybody do like really geeky? This is something that I was like super geeky in. I thought I'd be like really cool. What's that?
The sin must be without.
It is. And you know what Sarah is? What's that?
Without wax.
It means without wax. You know where it comes from?
Yeah, it has to do with Renaissance era painting.
It does. Actually, sculpture. But yeah, no one's ever done this. This is great. This is
Repeat that.
So, sincera means without, what you write, without wax, right? So we sign our letters without wax, right? That's basically what we're saying when we sign a letter sincerely. We're saying without wax. And where it comes from originally is from Renaissance era sculptors. And what happened, they'd have this huge block of stone, right? And they're chipping out stuff from the sculpture that they're trying to bring out. And if you mess up in stone, it's not like paint. You can't paint over it, right? You're kind of screwed, right? You can only take things away. And so what they do is they would actually put in balls of wax to fill in like the cracks and the little things that had messed up, and it looked like stone. But the most perfect sculptures were the ones that were kind of recognized that they didn't have wax. It didn't mean they didn't have imperfections. It just meant that they were offering the most true, authentic version of what they had created. Right? It was the most soulful, right? The most artful. It was recognizing that you can't have perfection, but you can work with what you have, and that is beautiful. Right? That is authentic.
That is so cool.
It's really cool, right? That's why I love it. And so one of the reasons I love sincerity, like specifically with Americans Elect, and this is a whole little side, I'm sorry, I'm on my soapbox, but like America, just really not perfect, right? But it's us, and it's us. We're here, and we're like kind of awesomely beautiful in our own right. Coming together like this to solve a problem, that's unique, and it is who we are, and it is part of like the very authentic kind of soul of our country. And so sincerity in Americans Elect, I feel like, is just this awesome value. So, okay, I'm getting off my soapbox now, but that's just kind of like a bigger idea in some ways than some, yeah.
Directness, consistent with tact and respect.
There's a bunch there. So directness and
Consistent with tact and respect.
I got respect. What was the middle part?
Consistent with.
Tact.
Consistent with tact. Okay. Gotcha. I like that a lot. Can you say a little bit more about respect?
RESPECT. Find out what it is.
That is its spelling, which is more. I agree. What else? What about respect is important in this space?
Well, because we're building a coalition and the president has to come from one side of the spectrum and the vice president from the other, we need to have mutual respect for opposing political viewpoints.
Ooh, nice.
Couldn't have said it better. Anybody else want to add? Yeah, I think that's great. Mutual respect, even for opposition. Can I say it that way?
Yeah, I think opposition's a better term than political viewpoints, because sometimes political propositions are completely absurd, and just because it's a political proposition doesn't mean you need to respect it, but you should respect the person trying to participate.
Right, absolutely. So respect is a really important one for Americans Elect, because we are fundamentally bringing together things that are often seen to not be on the same side. Fair? Yeah.
Agree to disagree.
Yeah, agree to disagree in some cases. I think mostly we'll find that we agree. I think that's kind of my guess. What else? What other values do you want to add to the table here? Yeah, back there.
I think growth mindset or open-mindedness.
Open-mindedness, absolutely. Colin's got that. Tell me more about you. Why is that important for Americans Elect?
To know that there are other options that you may not consider.
Absolutely. I mean, kind of fundamentally, when you go talk to anyone else about Americans Elect, do you think they've considered the idea that there's going to be another choice most of the time?
No.
Of course not, right? Right? It is the way it is. Elliot Ackerman uses a great analogy. Who's played Monopoly? Yeah, more or less probably all played Monopoly. Even if you've not played Monopoly, I bet you could sit down and just start playing, right? You don't need to read the rule book. Who's actually read the rule book of Monopoly? Okay, this is why you guys are here, because you guys are also the same people who read the bylaws. Which is awesome. Nobody ever reads the bylaws. I'm like, I've read the bylaws, all of it. So
I've
great.
been argued about
So
that.
most people don't read the rule book. You guys are super strange, and I love you. Don't read the rule book for Monopoly, but if you did, you actually find out there's all these other things you can do, right? It's unexpected, and it's kind of like keeping open mind to the fact that you can play this thing that you already think you know differently is a really kind of crazy idea. And people sit down and they're like, wait, you can do that? Monopoly? I had no idea. I've always played it this way. It's because you've never read all the rules, right? So I think it's a great one. Yeah, what's your name back there?
Kate.
Kate, thanks. And what, well, I was going to say, we get everybody's name here in a minute. But Corey, you had your hand up?
Yeah. We need perseverance to be able to push through all the walls that we're going to hit, and fluidity to be able to change and to morph into what we need to be, and be able to move forward. And we can't be stringent. We can't put ourselves in a box and not be able to address the issues and be able to form ourselves to what we need to be.
Yeah. Actually, I had a great delegate leader just from another session sent us a little poster that said, I didn't say this was going to be easy. I said this was going to be worth it. Right? So I thought that was such a neat poster. Yeah.
Well, it kind of goes with that being optimistic, having a sense of optimism, that it will happen. You know.
That's another one that I feel like I really like. My background is, if you can't tell, behavioral psychology. Because I think like how we do these things and kind of figure those things out is often really important, right? And optimism is a really interesting word because it's different fundamentally. Like actually how your brain is structured often depends on like whether you're an optimist or not, and it actually starts at a really young age, all these different things. But it's different from pessimism and different from cynicism. You may know that like if pessimism, I'll just gonna tell you, because otherwise, why not? Is it fundamentally like the world is a bad place, right? That's pessimism. Cynicism is really interesting because it's actually usually people who think the world can be better but have been burned. Like they believed, they thought they could do something and it could work, and it didn't quite turn out. And that's, I think, a lot of people we're going to talk to, right? They don't have that faith anymore. And if we can bring that faith, that optimism, often that alone can change the dynamic of a conversation you're going to have. Just that one little thing of like, I have faith, you can join me in this.
I think carrying which I call PMA, positive mental energy, and or positive mental attitude, and also see, believe, and achieve. You know, you have to have that mindset. If you can conceive it and believe it, we will achieve it. And that's what you have to. You have to be able to visually, or whatever you utilize in your everyday life, I utilize by visually seeing the end goal. And I actually believe it. Once you have those things under your belt, it's just human nature, you will achieve it. Because everything you do in your life is going to carry you towards that. So I think PMA and CBA.
So positive mental energy.
Mental attitude, conceive, believe, and achieve. You carry that with you, and anything is possible. Anything.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think that starts to meet David's goal of higher consciousness, right?
I think what does directly into optimism for me is this concept of a responsibility attitude of taking responsibility for what is going to occur, what is politics today. I mean, ultimately, we're responsible for what we've invested in and what the current environment is today. So, the very divisive discourse that exists today is one of an oversight and somebody else's problem set versus one of an optimism of we can change this, we take responsibility, and we can actually achieve difference in the future.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of said it this morning already too, right? Like, there is no one that is going to change this system in Washington. It is not going to happen. They will not do it. They are out there, and you have zero control over their decisions, right? We can do this, but only if we take responsibility and act on doing it, right? And like that frame, you guys wouldn't be here if you didn't have it, right? But conveying that to others, that this is ours. This is not theirs to give to us, right? This is ours to own and to change when it needs changing. And in fact, it is our responsibility to do it because we are the people, right? Like that. Yeah. That's where we got to be. Yeah. And go over. You actually said anything.
Yeah. Actually, two things. Kind of off of what he just said. I'm reminded of a little saying where so you go into the bathroom, the sink's on, and everybody says, somebody really ought to shut that off. And the next person walks in, look, the sink's went running. What a waste. Somebody ought to do something about that. And then somebody else walks in and walks over and shuts it off. So as far as, you got to take action, not just talk about it, do something about it. But the other thing I wanted to mention was for us to be successful, we're going to have to bring in a lot of people. And that's going to require some reasonable compromise.
Yeah, compromise and looking for synergy.
I was going to jump on the first thing you said, which I'm going to take away is proactive, right? The person that doesn't shut the sink off isn't being proactive. And that's going to be something that I think we want to talk a lot about here as a value, which is being proactive, which means not necessarily coming to Andrew Peter and asking for permission or asking for something, but just going out and doing it. The rapid response team that we talked about earlier, that's sort of their hallmark is they're definitely not running their comments, running their ideas, running the articles that they're touching on. They're not running through those through anybody. They're just going and doing it. So being proactive, I think, is a major value to take away that I think really leads to energy and action on our part. So
yeah, it absolutely does.
Said compromise.
What's that? I was going to say, I knew there was one that was missing. Yeah, so compromise, I think it was said earlier, consensus as well. Like, I think that.
You touched on a sense of duty earlier, and that's something that I would talk about. It's really near and dear to me. It's that, we need to be willing to have that sense of duty that we're willing to stand up and fight for to fight for this country and fight for the survival of what we all believe in, and trying to stand up and say that we're not going to sit back on the sidelines and watch as our politicians self-destruct and we're going to do something. We're going to fight. And having that sense of duty that it is our responsibility, it's our country, and we are not going to stand by and allow this to fail.
Nothing possible to add to that. That was great. Yeah, okay. What's your name?
Being as nonpartisan as possible, I feel.
Yeah. Or maybe even something like, yeah, I guess it's nonpartisan. The technical term of nonpartisan, not the way that people often use it, right? Which is that it is neither Republican or Democrat. We can mean nonpartisan, it actually just mean like parties, right? What non-party centric, yeah, I love that, absolutely. Go, you then back to you.
Empowered.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to be empowered to take control of the situation and do what's right based on values.
Yeah, and I think that empowered relates very much to being proactive, to being optimistic, to kind of having all those different things, right? That if we do those, if we have those values, then we are empowered, and knowing that that actually, like, who the heck, we're the freaking United States. Like, that was the whole point, right? That we would be empowered. Otherwise, why bother, right? I mean, that really was, that is who we are. So absolutely, love it. Yeah.
Oh, nonviolence.
Nonviolent, yeah. Why?
Nonviolent struggle.
Yeah. This is, I mean, isn't it kind of think about it in the context of history, somebody mentioned that earlier as being important. Like, we potentially are going to, not overthrow, that maybe is a strong word, but like upend, at least, disrupt a system that is very entrenched. Guess how that used to work out? Like, not even that long ago. Like, actually still in other countries right now.
Military violence.
Yeah, there's military. If you try to like say that there's two-party control and we think that's bad and we're going to come up with another system to go around it,
physically overthrow the system.
They'd have to physically overthrow. In fact, there's about 20 countries in the Middle East doing that right now. Right? They are having to go out and fight tanks. We have the amazing privilege and opportunity to do this with a struggle of ideas and organized people. Wow. Right? Wow. So cool. So yeah, keeping with that value of just this isn't a violent thing. This is a part of making our country greater and better. Absolutely. Yeah. Right here, yeah.
I wanted to kind of follow up with the conceiving and achieving thing. I think an important aspect of that too is follow through. Because like if you talk to any elite athlete, they don't live in the moment they take the shot. They're living in the 3 seconds before and the 3 seconds after, because they picture it, and before they're even done picturing it, they've already taken the shot. And then you'll notice they just stay there and make sure that everything's gone well before they move on to the next thing. I think that's really important for us. You can't just say, okay, we've got ballot access here, we can slack off now. You have to keep following through and keep moving on to the next shot, the next thing you've got to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's great. That's a good analogy too. Thank you.
I think the underbelly of all of this is a sense of excitement that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
That's motivating all of us. And I believe that we're all on the verge of an online revolution in a way, because we don't have to get the right to speak publicly in large groups. We can do it online, and we can all interact. So this is kind of a buzz and excitement that's brewing, and it's happening whether we like it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll happen because we make it happen.
Well, maybe not. It's also happening everywhere.
That's true.
There's a general disgust for the existing two-party system.
That's true.
We can grab on.
I agree absolutely, online movement and core to like what we have to do, but nothing gets done if you're not in the living room, you're not in the diner at the diner, you're not sitting next to people getting around people. It's not about a tweet, Facebook post status. It's about people doing things and people moving and people acting. So part of that piece of very easy to be social, very easy to be very much out there. We all have to remember that ultimately to affect change, we have to have people affecting change. And,
but this has to be easy too. Yeah, it has to be easy for everybody. And everyone's kind of in a collective separateness, and we all love our little world we live in. if it's all easy, it's going to happen. But I agree with you. The touching the human element.
Dan, right? Dan. I couldn't possibly agree more, right, that and one of the things we'll talk about in a minute is use the internet to get off the internet, right? That is one of the things that has to happen. The internet is a critical tool, and use it to get off the internet.
Get off on the internet?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I just didn't understand.
He took it there.
I'm sorry. You were waiting for it.
Okay, anything else? And this is an amazing list, and again, we can always add to it over the course of the day. Is there anything that hasn't been said that if you don't say it?
We need to quit waiting for permission from the groups.
Perfect, next thing you said. Yeah, quit waiting for permission, right? Err on the side of action. Ask for forgiveness, not for permission, right? That's I'm totally allowed to tell you that, and Kellen's allowed to tell you that as part of Americans Elect. Do stuff without asking the Americans Elect leadership or whoever that is. It's not them, it's us. So do stuff, and if it's wrong, then we'll say like, hey, let's do it differently next time, and that's great, right? But don't bother asking for permission. And it's okay to have like the guys, but just so you know, up here, for whatever reason, the echoing of like the little side conversations that are happening get really loud for some reason, the acoustics. So I have a hard time hearing other people when other people are talking. So it's just not a big deal to just either keep it really, really quiet or try to, have a different conversation elsewhere. One more over here? Yeah.
Contentedness, because Americans like the process, and we're not choosing, we don't have a candidate right now. And we all have our own pet candidates that we may be interested in. We all have our own political ideologies that we bring to the table. But Americans Elect is going to elect somebody or nominate somebody that may not fit our little ideal list. We have to be content with what all the delegates come up with. And still support the process, even if it yields results that we may not ideologically believe in.
I think that's really, that's a critical thing to kind of remember, right? So, Americans Elect is a process. This is not to correct anything. I'll just also add the notion that it is important that we all participate, otherwise it doesn't work, right? It's kind of pointless to set up if we don't all participate. And there may be results that not everyone's going to like, right? It may not be your first choice, but it is ultimately our choice because we worked in the process and we made that choice together. So sticking together in that choice, I think, is an important value. Does that kind of summing up what you're saying? That's a really important one, yeah.
Kind of add to that the whole idea that when you're said and done, you nominated somebody in a new way, you're proving that it can be done in new ways. So even if it's not 100% somebody that you might agree with on everything, there's no way it's going to satisfy everybody. But we still go out and say we want another way to have this accomplished. We want another way.
Yeah, and we are creating another way.
Voice that opinion through this process.
Yeah, absolutely. We got.
I think the word you're looking for is unity.
Yeah, it may be. You guys. I'm not looking for any words. You guys are the ones coming up with words.
We are.
Yeah. So unity is great. And we're good. Okay. Right, like just for the sake of time, we got 3 hands. Who has something else they'd like to say at this point? Okay, so Sean, it's okay if you do. I just want to make sure that let's try to wrap up in the next 2 or 3 minutes on this section. And we can always add to this. These are values, like these are ideas. We can always add to these. So Sean, and then
I think this is one of the ones we had for the college group, and I think it was really valuable. It was trust. There were a number of different ideological backgrounds in that room in St. Louis, and we didn't argue once despite that. We all felt comfortable saying what was on our mind. And without trust, that wouldn't happen. So from what was on the list in St. Louis that isn't there now, I think that's the most important one.
That's awesome, right? Because that trust implies like what's going to happen in the next 36 hours is right here is really important, and we need to be able to trust each other, even just to be able to share these ideas, right? We need to be able to make a joke and trust that people are going to not think we're bad people, or talk about what we've seen or done and tell our own personal story, and trust that it's not going to be looked at negatively, right? That trust has to start with us right here, right now, and then we have to be able to project that out. And I think it's really important. Is anybody? Is there any of these that anyone disagrees with? Think that should come off this list?
I think positive mental attitude should be removed.
Non-violence.